The Zoran Mandani profile in the New York Times just came out, and one of the sentences that was written really stood out to me because of like what it means for marketing.
Yes.
So it said, a candidate in today's day and age needs to be able to explain ideas in a 30-second vertical social media video, Reels, TikTok, a 3-minute television hit. So that's, going on Good Morning America, going on, Fox News, whatever, and a 3-hour long form podcast. So that's all the Joe Rogans and Theo Vons and, whenever there's a Dem one, eventually, that will be what's needed. And I think it kind of encapsulates where we are politically because it's not enough to use the old political playbook, which I'm kind of seeing Democrats still trying to do, which is
Yeah.
frankly why they're not doing well, right?
Yeah.
Aside from Zoran Mamdani, who most of the Democratic Party refused to endorse, refused to get behind, even though he's the only one that's doing politics correctly right now in terms of getting his voice out there, getting the youth and disaffected voters who usually wouldn't vote to come out
Yeah.
and actually vote, to
Yeah.
participate, to help volunteer, to do all this stuff. And nothing, we're not talking here about political policies or any of that, but what politicians need to do now in order to get attention. And this matters a lot to me because the next two elections are going to be some of the most important ones. And so people need to know what it is that is actually happening, economically, politically, everything across the board. And if they're not finding that out because politicians refuse to go onto TikTok, where a lot of people get their news, or go on Reels because that's where people are, then they're only finding out disinformation and all that. So I think it's very necessary for politicians to learn how to get out there. And yes, you may say do I really want a politician to be on TikTok? You should, because that's where
Yeah.
people are finding out their information. And
Yeah.
the more that we look down on it and look down on the people that get their information from TikTok as opposed to a news source, the CNN, MSNBC or whatever, who have record low views these days,
Oh, yeah.
record low, you know,
Yeah.
um, the more that people are going to be misinformed and
Hmm.
disinformed
Yep.
and are not going to end up voting for policies that could affect them or well, most definitely affect them, but could affect them, positively or negatively.
Absolutely.
Um,
Yeah.
so some of the key metrics for why this matters, vertical video engagement is 3 times higher than horizontal. So what this means is you will, I'm sure we've all seen this. A lot of politicians post, speeches that they make. They'll post a horizontal video with the black bars on top. Nobody likes to watch that, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to change the format so that they will watch your video. And you would think that that would be obvious. And yet we still have those horizontal videos coming out. And then the average span for political content is 8 seconds on TikTok and then 2.5 hours for podcasts. What does that mean? It means that you need to be going on podcasts. And I say this because if we call back to the 2024 election, you had people telling Kamala Harris to go onto
Yep.
podcasts so that
Yep.
she could get her views across, so people would listen, because that's where people are listening to those conversations. And it came out later that, she basically didn't want to do it because she well, first, I guess the Joe Rogan podcast, it was kind of going back and forth that they didn't eventually want her to go on there, so she didn't. But there were other ones that, were proposed, and she just wasn't comfortable doing it,
Yeah.
which says a lot about the policies and her being able to speak to them and being comfortable in that medium. And so that's one of the things now where we're starting to see some candidates kind of come out there, and Pete Buttigieg, shout out to him because he can go onto those 3-hour
Yeah. He can do
podcasts and
those. Yeah.
talk
He'll
about
carry it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He can talk about policies and really break it down in a really simple, easy to understand way. Or Mamdani can also do that. AOC can do that, right? And so that's kind of what is expected now. Part of the thing that I want to bring up here is kind of also bringing back like how we're expecting now celebrities to also go on podcasts. Podcasts are the new medium. Like they just are. And you're just gonna have to like be able to talk about things, right? And like one thing I really like want to shout out here is that I see far more like, gotcha questions being asked of like celebrities and like artists that isn't being put towards politicians who actually should be able to answer these questions. And I think like one of the hot takes that I want to have is that like I don't care if celebrities have a take on like political things. Like fair enough if they do, like if they care and they want to like talk about it, good for them. But like let's put that energy towards like politicians. Like politicians
Yes.
should be able to like answer these questions. Tell me what is going on with the economy. Tell me about like housing. Tell me about like, the policies that you want to institute to help people and like why they matter, why they should matter to me, like why I should vote for them. And like
Yeah.
none of that energy is being done, even with
Yeah.
like actual political journalists that are supposed to be doing that job. Um, and if that's actually happening in podcasts, then like politicians should be going onto podcasts so that they can actually have smart conversations with people. Um yeah. So I feel like I've been going on for a while
No,
now.
you're
Christopher,
good. You're
please
good.
tell
No, I
me.
loved it. No,
Tell
I
me what you
loved
want to
it.
talk about.
No, I loved that. I think I agree with everything that you said. I would just bring it back to something that was a singularity in the political space
Hmm.
in the 60s. And that was the first televised debate between
Mm,
JFK and
sure.
Nixon. And it is the same thing. It is the when you go up there and you have Nixon versus JFK debating, and then because of, I think Nixon was sick, or he was like, his makeup made him look sick, or something to that effect. But he did not show well. And so JFK looks polished, he looks confident, he looks like he's not dying, like versus Nixon, who looks like pallid and like
Sure.
not doing so hot. And
He looks
so
sweaty.
he looks sweaty, like it just created, and it once again it signals other things. And so the modern day equivalent of how that debate changed how voters see and perceive their politicians is the same thing that we're seeing with podcasts, because we are not going to, if Kamala doesn't go on a podcast, or if whatever politician doesn't go on a podcast but their competitor does,
Hmm.
we are not going to immediately jump to the most logical thing of like, well, maybe it was just, maybe they didn't have time in their schedule. We're not going to use that information vacuum to go to a calm place. We're going to go to a place of they weren't ready. They can't
Hmm.
handle it. They're not confident. They can't speak to their stuff. They're too scared. Like we're get like an information vacuum is almost always the invitation to go negative.
Hmm.
And it
I mean, that's
also
exactly what happened with Kamala
yeah,
Harris.
and it creates a breeding ground. So
Hmm.
now you have Trump who's going on these podcasts and having these conversations, and then she doesn't. So
Hmm.
that gives him a really easy thing to be like, "Well, I was confident enough to do this, but she wasn't." And
Hmm.
whether that's the truth or not, that's the argument he could make. And so it creates an information vacuum. And the last thing you want in politics is an information vacuum. And
Hmm.
so I agree with you. I want this stance. I want them to ask tough questions. Like I just have Jon Stewart do every single
I
interview, and I'll
know.
be like the happiest. I love Jon Stewart. I'll be like the happiest kid. Just let, because he's not gonna play ball. He's gonna be like, "No, I actually wanna know the answer. You're gonna have to, like, you're here, you're gonna have
Hmm.
to answer it." And so I think that especially with the ramifications of what we're seeing, especially the threat to the freedom of the press, is that now more than ever is the time for press to actually ask the tough questions, because we need the tough answers more than ever right now. I truly believe that where we're at right now, the press needs to show what freedom they have left. And
Hmm.
they need to use it to get the answers and get the answers to the American people. But if they're not, then they basically might as well be state press.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. I think a huge lesson for me here is becoming platform native, right? Where it's like we're seeing a rise of like or we should be seeing the rise of the politicians that can kind of use each of the platforms in that way. I mean, Mamdani has been a great example of that. AOC has, she's been using Instagram stories forever, and that's still one of like her best channels of like that's where people are like finding out that information. Um, so, I think we'll continue to see it head in that direction and of, just I think I want more from like my, the politicians. Like, yes, I want you to like know about like policies and what they matter, but I also want you to be able to talk about them in a way that
Yeah.
like matters to people. Um and like how it affects their lives. And I think that that's a huge disconnect, that like has been, a huge thing, especially within Democrats, who it seems always are talking down to people that like,
Yes.
oh yeah, yeah, just vote for this. Like, the other side is evil. You should just vote for us. And it's just like, well, I need a little bit more to go on now.
Yeah.
Like, I need to know that you're actually going to do something. You're actually going to
Yeah.
stand up and say something. And even right now, the Dems aren't I mean, they're not in power, right? The Republicans have all three like branches. I need to know that you're going to be out there and still trying to communicate with what's actually happening on a daily basis. And if the way that you're doing that, is by launching a failing YouTube channel
Yeah.
that like has horizontal videos, which the Democrats have done, or the
Yeah.
DNC has done, then like it's really showing to me that like you're not adapting, and you're not really being able to like signal to the market that like you care about like
Yeah.
your voters.
I agree with that, and I would also add that I think it's very clear too that audiences are ready for non-boomers. We're ready for people our age in office.
Please.
And so I think that's the other thing is like I don't even want to say relatability, but like
Hmm.
I want people to be enacting laws that they are going to also be impacted by in the next 20 years, and we have not seen that in my lifetime.
Hmm.
So it's like I think that what we're also seeing is this desire to see people who are not just on the platforms that we're on, but they
Hmm.
use them too
Yeah.
because they are our age and
Hmm.
they are seeing the struggles that we are facing firsthand because they have
Hmm.
lived through the collective experience that we have had. And I don't expect an 80-year-old to understand me, and they
Yeah.
absolutely don't. They don't.
I mean, honestly, I don't expect a 50-year-old to either.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I had to say, we would just skip over Gen Xers and go straight to millennials. Like, there's more of us
Gen Xers,
anyway.
I'm married to a Gen Xer. They want to be left alone. They
Yeah.
wanna be left alone. They're like, "This y'all have ignored us long enough, just keep
Yeah.
ignoring us, we're
Yeah.
fine." I do love a Gen X, though. I would not mind a Gen X coming in and just, like but I feel like a Gen Xer would go into Washington and just, like, throw all the tables, but honestly, I kinda want that. So, like, don't skip Gen X, but I need, like, the baddest ass y'all got. I need, like, come in, plan Van
Are you
Halen.
saying you want Newsom?
No, no. That's a no,
Because that's a
too.
Gen Xer that's out
That's a no,
there.
too. No, he's cosplaying as the scandal president. He wants to be the scandal president. I can't remember his name. Fitz? He wants to be Fitz so bad. No, I don't
Oh,
like that one
from
either.
Scandal? Oh, the
Yeah.
Scandal present. Sorry, I thought you meant like
He's
literally the
he's
word scandal.
yeah, he's trying to be Fitz. Like it's every time I see him, I was like, you want to be Fitz so bad. Like he's cosplaying Fitz is what it feels like every time I see an article. I do like that he's fighting back.
He's doing
Or
something.
or at least his press secretary is fighting back. Like the
Mhm,
tweets
mhm.
are tweeting. Like they're funny.
See,
But
but that he understands that we need to
he's
be out
playing
there
with the
doing that,
culture.
right?
Yeah.
So he's hiring the people. He's hiring the team of like marketers
Yeah.
and social people to go out there and do that. And that's important, you know?
Yeah.
Mamdani also has like a team that does that, right? Like he has a special team that like creates video content because
Yep.
he knows that that's like his angle,
But he
right?
also goes on the street and talks to
Yeah.
people, and I think when you're I think it's really important, like, one of the things that he does that I love is there's all this vernacular about these urban cities being war zones.
Mm,
He's on the streets
yeah, right.
talking to normal people. Doesn't look like a war zone.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
just meeting the people of New
The
York,
people in
and
New
they're
York.
like, he did a scavenger hunt, like, around, like, all the parts of New York, and that was just really lovely, and so I think it's very interesting to especially when we're talking about, like, truth and AI videos and what the
Mhm.
algorithm lets you see, showing up in person with video to showcase what is happening from a very clear perspective is incredibly powerful right now and something that all politicians should be thinking of.
I mean, Timothy Chalamet understands that as well,
Yes.
right? That's what he's been
Just get
doing
him
with his press
we
tour.
need Mondani to have like a little orange Hermes mini Kelly, and
Yeah,
he'll do like the
exactly.
whole
Or maybe a
he'll be
different
decked
color,
out.
one that suits more of it, like the blue or the purple that he's been
Yeah.
doing for his.
Yeah.
Awesome.